Captain Jake Morrison stood on the bridge of the USS Defender and watched the stars through the main screen. The ship moved slowly through space toward the meeting point near Kepler 442. This was the day humans would meet the Zephyrian Empire. For the first time, Jake felt excited but also nervous. Everything had to go right today. Dr. Lisa Campbell walked up to him with her data pad in hand. She was the best scientist on the ship and knew more about alien life than anyone else. Lisa had spent months preparing for this moment. She wanted to learn about Zephyrian culture and biology. Her team had worked hard to make sure they understood basic Zephyrian customs. Commander Rick Hayes checked the weapon systems one more time. The ship carried powerful guns and shields, but Jake had ordered them to stay in peaceful mode. Rick did not like this idea. He thought they should be ready for trouble. But Jake was the captain, and his orders were clear. No weapons unless attacked first. Amy Parker sat at her communication station and listened to radio signals from space. She was young, but very good at her job. Amy had learned some Zephyrian language from the signals they picked up over the years. She would help translate when the aliens arrived. Far away on the Zephyrian flagship, High Admiral Vextar looked at screens showing human history. His people had been watching Earth for many years. They saw wars and battles and destruction. Humans seemed to love fighting each other. They had weapons that could destroy whole cities. They fought wars that lasted for years and killed millions of people. Vextar felt scared when he thought about humans. His advisors showed him videos of human soldiers in battle. They were fierce and never gave up. When humans got angry, they became very dangerous. The Admiral worried that humans wanted to take over the galaxy, just like they took over their own planet. The Zephyrian Empire controlled over 400 star systems. They were strong and had good technology. But humans seemed different. Their weapons were strange and powerful. Their ships moved fast and had thick armor. Vextar did not want to fight humans, but he also did not want them to attack his people. On the USS Defender, Jake received a message that Zephyrian ships were coming. Amy picked up their signals on her equipment. The alien fleet was big with many ships. Lisa felt excited to finally meet real aliens. Rick kept his hand near the weapon controls just in case. The Zephyrian ships appeared on the screen. They looked different from human ships with curved lines and bright lights. Jake ordered Amy to send a peaceful greeting message. She spoke in careful Zephyrian words that meant hello and welcome. The message traveled through space toward the alien fleet. Vextar received the human message, but he did not trust it. His military experts told him that humans always lied before attacking. They pointed to Earth's history, where countries often broke peace treaties. The Admiral looked at his weapon systems and made a hard choice. He decided to attack first, before the humans could hurt his people. Jake saw the alien ships turn toward them and power up their guns. He could not believe what was happening. This was supposed to be a peaceful meeting. Rick shouted warnings about incoming missiles. The bridge lights flashed red as alarms started ringing. The first Zephyrian attack hit the USS Defender hard. The ship shook and sparks flew from broken equipment. Lisa fell down as the floor moved under her feet. Several crew members in the science section were hurt badly. The ship's doctor ran to help them, but some were already dead. Jake held onto his captain's chair as more explosions rocked the ship. Rick asked for permission to fight back. The weapons were ready, and they could destroy several alien ships quickly. The crew waited for orders to return fire. Everyone expected their captain to attack the aliens, who had killed their friends. Amy tried to send another message to the Zephyrians, but her equipment was damaged. She could only send short signals. The alien fleet kept shooting at the human ship. More systems failed, and the Defender started to drift in space. Dr. Campbell was helped to her feet by a security officer. Her research team was gone, and years of work was destroyed. She looked at Jake with tears in her eyes. The aliens had killed innocent scientists who only wanted to learn and make friends. Rick stood up and faced his captain. The aliens were still attacking, and the ship was dying. He pointed to the weapon controls and asked again for permission to fire back. The crew could hear explosions in other parts of the ship. People were dying while they waited for orders. Jake looked at the alien ships on his screen. They had attacked without warning and killed his people. Everyone expected him to use the powerful weapons and show the aliens why humans were feared across the galaxy. His finger moved toward the fire. Control button as another explosion shook the bridge and the lights went out. The emergency lights came back on and cast red shadows across the bridge. Commander Rick Hayes wiped blood from a cut on his forehead and stared at Captain Jake Morrison. The alien ships were still out there and still shooting. The USS Defender was badly hurt, and more people were dying with each attack. Rick walked to the weapon control panel and put his hand on the firing switch. The ship's quantum torpedoes were loaded and ready. Each torpedo could destroy a Zephyrian cruiser with one hit. The aliens had started this fight, and now they would learn why the galaxy feared. Human anger. Jake saw Rick's hand on the controls and knew what his officer was thinking. Every person on the bridge expected him to give the order to fire. It would be easy and it would be right. The aliens had attacked first and killed innocent people. No one would blame humans for fighting back. Amy Parker's communication station sparked and made strange noises. She hit the side of her equipment and tried to get it working again. Her face was pale and her hands shook from fear. She looked at Jake and waited for him to order the attack that would save them all. Dr. Lisa Campbell held on to a broken rail and watched the captain. Her friends were dead because aliens shot at a peaceful science mission. The research that took years to prepare was destroyed in minutes. She wanted the aliens to pay for what they did, but something in Jake's eyes made her wait. On the Zephyrian flagship, High Admiral Vextar watched his ships attack the human vessel. The enemy ship was damaged, but it had not fired back yet. His tactical officer said the humans were probably planning something terrible. Maybe they were charging a super weapon that could destroy the whole. Zephyrian Fleet. Vextar had studied human military history for years. Humans always fought back when attacked. They never gave up and never showed mercy to enemies. The admiral expected the human ship to unleash devastating firepower at any moment. He ordered his ships to attack faster before the humans could strike. Back on the USS Defender, Jake made a decision that shocked everyone. Instead of grabbing the weapon controls, he walked to Amy's broken communication station. He pushed buttons and tried to get the radio working. Sparks flew from damaged circuits. But he kept trying until a weak signal came through. Rick could not believe what he was seeing. The captain was trying to talk to aliens who were shooting at them. More explosions hit the ship and killed more crew members. Rick shouted that they needed to fight back now, before it was too late. The weapons were ready, and the aliens deserved to die. Jake ignored Rick's protests and spoke into the communication device. His voice was calm and steady even though the ship shook around him. He said he was Captain Morrison of the human vessel Defender. He told the aliens that this was a peaceful mission and asked them to stop shooting. The bridge crew stared at their captain in amazement. Amy translated his words into Zephyrian language as best she could with the broken equipment. The message was weak and full of static, but it reached the alien ships. Jake continued talking and said he was sorry for any misunderstanding between their peoples. Admiral Vextar received the human message and could not understand it. No human military leader had ever apologized during a battle. His advisors said it must be a trick to make them lower their guard. They told him to ignore the message and keep attacking until the human ship was destroyed. But Jake was not finished. He told the aliens that some of his people were hurt and asked if any Zephyrians needed medical help. He said human doctors were ready to treat wounded aliens. His words traveled through space to ships where alien soldiers listened in confusion. Dr. Kim Martinez heard the captain's message over the ship's communication system. She was in the medical bay treating injured crew members. When she heard Jake offer medical help to the aliens who shot them, she stopped working and listened carefully. The idea was crazy, but somehow it felt right. Rick grabbed Jake's arm and tried to pull him away from the radio. He said the aliens would think humans were weak if they begged for peace. The crew needed their captain to be strong and fight back. Every second they waited gave the aliens more chances to kill them. Jake pushed Rick away gently but firmly. He continued talking to the Zephyrians and said he wanted to meet with their leader. He promised that humans would not attack if the aliens stopped shooting. His offer of peace echoed through space to ships full of confused alien warriors. The Zephyrian attack slowly stopped as ship commanders asked Admiral Vextar for orders. They had never seen anything like this before. Humans were supposed to be savage fighters who never backed down from a battle. But this human captain was offering friendship to enemies who tried to kill him. Dr. Martinez came to the bridge and volunteered to take a medical shuttle to the alien ships. She said she could treat their wounded and show them that humans meant no harm. Jake looked at his chief medical officer and saw the same courage that made humans special throughout the galaxy. Amy's equipment finally started working better, and she sent a clear message to the Zephyrian fleet. She told them that Dr. Martinez was coming to help their wounded. The shuttle would carry medical supplies and nothing else. It would have no weapons and no shields. Admiral Vextar watched his tactical display as a small human shuttle left the damaged ship and flew toward his fleet. His officers told him it could be a bomb or a trick, but sensors showed it carried only medical equipment and one human doctor who wanted to help alien soldiers. The shuttle flew slowly through the space between the fleets while both sides watched and waited. Everyone expected the shooting to start again at any moment. But Jake Morrison had done something that no Zephyrian could understand, and that changed everything. Dr. Kim Martinez guided her small shuttle toward the massive Zephyrian flagship. Her hands were steady on the controls, but her heart beat fast. She was flying alone into an alien fleet that had just tried to kill her friends. The medical supplies in the back of the shuttle seemed very small compared to the big alien warships around her. Admiral Vextar watched the human shuttle approach his ship. His security chief wanted to destroy it before it got close. Many officers thought it was a trap or a suicide attack. But something made the admiral curious. He had studied humans for years and never seen behavior like this. He decided to let the shuttle dock. The shuttle bay doors opened, and Martinez landed her small craft inside the alien ship. Zephyrian soldiers surrounded the shuttle with weapons. Ready. They expected a trick or an attack. Instead, they saw one human woman with medical bags and equipment. She stepped out slowly with her hands, visible and empty. Martinez looked at the alien soldiers and tried to remember the Zephyrian words Amy had taught her. She said hello and pointed to her medical equipment. The aliens were tall and thin with gray skin and large eyes. They looked scared and confused. She smiled and showed them that she wanted to help. A wounded Zephyrian was brought to the shuttle bay on a floating stretcher. The soldier was badly hurt from an explosion on his own ship. Martinez knelt beside him and started checking his injuries. The alien soldiers watched as she worked with the same care she would show a human patient. On the USS Defender, Captain Jake Morrison coordinated rescue operations for Zephyrian escape pods scattered around the battle area. Lieutenant Ben Carter led teams in small ships to pick up alien survivors. The Zephyrians expected to be taken prisoner and tortured. Instead, they were given food and comfortable places to rest. Carter found a damaged Zephyrian scout ship with 3 survivors inside. The aliens were hurt, and their life support was failing. Ben's team worked quickly to transfer them to the human rescue ship. The aliens could not understand why humans were saving enemies who had tried to kill them. Back on the flagship, Dr. Martinez finished treating the wounded Zephyrian soldier. The alien's injuries were cleaned and bandaged. His pain was gone, and he could breathe easily again. Other wounded aliens were brought to the shuttle bay, and Martinez treated each one with gentle care. Admiral Vextar came to see the human doctor working on his people. He watched her save a young Zephyrian who reminded him of his own son. Martinez noticed the Admiral watching and looked up at him. She spoke in broken Zephyrian and asked if he was hurt too. Her concern seemed real and honest. The Admiral was not hurt, but he was confused. Everything his people knew about humans said they were violent and cruel. They were supposed to torture prisoners and show no mercy to enemies. But this human woman was healing Zephyrian soldiers and asking about his health. On the human ships, rescued Zephyrian civilians were given rooms and meals. Human crew members tried to make them comfortable. Children aliens were scared, but human engineers like Sam Brooks played simple games with them and shared candy from Earth. The young aliens began to smile and laugh. Sam Brooks received an emergency call from a damaged Zephyrian cruiser. Their life support system was failing and 800 aliens would die soon. The radiation levels inside the ship were deadly, but someone needed to go inside and fix the broken equipment. Sam volunteered for the dangerous job. Brooks put on a heavy radiation suit and took his tools to the alien ship. Zephyrian engineers met him at the airlock and tried to explain the problem. The language barrier was hard, but Sam understood enough. He followed them through corridors filled with deadly radiation toward the broken life support core. The damage was worse than expected. Sam would need to work for at least an hour in radiation that could kill him. The alien engineers wanted to help, but their suits were not strong enough. Sam told them to stay back and started working alone to save 800 lives he had never met. Admiral Vextar received reports from all over his fleet about strange human behavior. Human rescue teams were saving Zephyrian survivors and treating them well. Human doctors were healing alien wounded without asking for anything in return. Human engineers were risking their lives to save alien civilians. The Admiral's advisors insisted it was all a trick. They said humans were pretending to be kind so they could learn Zephyrian secrets. But Vextar was starting to doubt everything. He thought he knew about humans. The evidence of human compassion was too strong to ignore. Dr. Martinez finished treating the last wounded alien on the flagship. She had worked for hours without rest to save lives. The Zephyrian medical staff watched her techniques and learned new ways to help their own people. When she was done, Martinez asked if there were more wounded aliens on other ships. Sam Brooks completed his repair work on the life support system just as his radiation suit began to fail. He had saved 800 Zephyrian lives, but the deadly radiation had hurt him badly. Alien engineers carried him to their medical bay, where Zephyrian doctors tried to help the human who had sacrificed himself for strangers. Of Sam's heroic act spread through the Zephyrian fleet. Alien soldiers who had been taught to hate humans now watched video recordings of a human engineer dying to save their comrades. Many aliens began to cry as they realized how wrong they had been about humanity. Captain Morrison received a message from Admiral Vextar asking for a face-to-face meeting. The alien leader wanted to understand why humans were showing mercy to enemies. Jake agreed to meet and suggested they work together to prevent more misunderstandings between their peoples. The news traveled fast through Zephyrian space, using quantum communication networks that connected hundreds of star systems. On the homeworld of Zephyr Prime, billions of aliens watched video recordings from the battle. They saw human doctors healing Zephyrian wounded and human engineers saving alien lives. The official government stories about savage humans began to fall apart. In the capital city of Zephyr Prime, citizens gathered in public squares to watch the broadcasts. They saw Dr. Kim Martinez working tirelessly to save alien soldiers who were supposed to be our enemies. They watched Sam Brooks risk his life to repair life support systems for 800 Zephyrians he had never met. Many aliens began to question everything their leaders had told them about humans. Captain Jake Morrison and Admiral Vexstar met on a neutral space station between their fleets. The meeting room was simple with a table and chairs from both cultures. Jake brought Amy Parker to help translate, and Admiral Vexstar came with his intelligence chief. Both leaders were nervous, but determined to understand what had gone wrong. Jake spoke first and said he was sorry for the misunderstanding that caused so much death. He explained that the human mission was always peaceful, and that his people only wanted to make friends with the Zephyrian Empire. The Admiral listened carefully and realized that the human captain truly meant what he said. Admiral Vexstar admitted that his people had been watching Earth for many years. They had seen human wars and violence, and decided that humans were too dangerous to trust. He showed Jake some of the intelligence reports that painted humans as bloodthirsty monsters who would destroy the galaxy if they were allowed to spread. Jake looked at the reports and understood why the aliens had been afraid. The files showed only the worst parts of human history. There were pictures of battlefields and destroyed cities, but nothing about human art or science or charity. The aliens had seen humanity's capacity for violence, but missed their much greater capacity for kindness. Amy suggested that they form a joint committee to review all the intelligence about humans. She said both species needed to work together to find the truth and prevent future mistakes. Agent Kelly Thompson from Human Intelligence offered to share Earth's complete historical records with Zephyrian researchers. The committee began its work immediately. Kelly Thompson worked alongside Zephyrian analyst Krizek to examine thousands of years of human civilization. For every war in the files, they found hundreds of years of peace. For every act of destruction, they discovered thousands of acts of creation and compassion. Krizek was amazed to learn about human hospitals that treated anyone regardless of their ability to pay. He read about human charities that fed hungry people in distant countries. He studied human art and music and literature that celebrated love and beauty instead of war and death. The analyst realized his people had completely misunderstood humanity. Back on Zephyr Prime, more video recordings arrived from the battle zone. Citizens watched human crew members sharing their own food with rescued Zephyrian civilians. They saw human children sending drawings and toys to young alien refugees. The gap between government propaganda and reality became impossible to ignore. The Zephyrian Council of Ministers held an emergency meeting to discuss the crisis. Some ministers wanted to continue the war against humans and claimed the videos were fake, but others pointed out that thousands of Zephyrian witnesses had seen human compassion with their own eyes. The evidence was too strong to deny. On the space station, Kelly Thompson showed Admiral Vexstar recordings of human peacekeeping missions throughout Earth's solar system. She explained how humans had learned from their violent past and worked to build a better future. The Admiral saw human colonies where different species lived together in harmony. Dr. Martinez returned from the Zephyrian flagship with a full report on alien biology and medicine. She had learned much about Zephyrian physiology while treating their wounded. More importantly, she had made friends with alien doctors who wanted to share medical knowledge between their species. Sam Brooks survived his radiation exposure thanks to quick treatment from both human and Zephyrian doctors working together. His heroic sacrifice had saved 800 alien lives and changed how thousands of Zephyrians thought about humans. When he woke up in the medical bay, alien engineers came to thank him personally. The Joint Investigation Committee published its preliminary findings after 3 days of intensive work. The report showed that Zephyrian intelligence had focused only on human conflicts, while ignoring 90% of human civilization. They had studied wars, but missed the peace that came before, and after each conflict. Captain Morrison proposed a cultural exchange program where humans and Zephyrians could visit each other's worlds. He suggested that both species had much to learn from each other. Admiral Vestar agreed and said his people were eager to understand the true nature of humanity. But their planning was interrupted by urgent messages from long-range sensor stations. A massive fleet of unknown ships was approaching from outside the galaxy. The vessels were huge and appeared to be made entirely of metal, with no life signs aboard. They were heading directly toward both human and Zephyrian space. Admiral Vestar recognized the ships from ancient Zephyrian legends. They belonged to the Void Collective, a machine intelligence that had appeared centuries ago to destroy organic life. The robotic fleet had wiped out 17 star systems before disappearing into deep space. Now they had returned, and both humans and Zephyrians were in terrible danger. The alien admiral faced a cruel irony. The humans he had attacked might be the galaxy's only hope against this new threat. Human military technology was advanced, and their soldiers were known for never giving up in battle. But would humans help defend the aliens who had tried to kill them? Captain Morrison answered that question immediately. He offered humanity's full military support against the machine invaders. He said humans and Etherians should stand together against any threat to organic life. The captain's quick response amazed Admiral Vestar and proved once again that humans were nothing like the monsters he had imagined. General Paul Davis arrived with the human battle fleet just 12 hours after receiving Captain Morrison's emergency call. The fleet was massive, with battleships and carriers and support vessels stretching across space. Admiral Vestar had expected humans to demand revenge for the earlier attack, but instead they came ready to defend both species against the machine invaders. The Void Collective fleet was even larger than anyone had imagined. Thousands of robotic ships moved in perfect formation toward the border systems. Each ship was a kilometer long and covered in weapons that could destroy planets. The machines had no crews and felt no fear or mercy. They existed only to eliminate all organic life from the galaxy. General Davis met with Admiral Vestar and Captain Morrison in the command center of the human flagship. The planning room had holographic displays showing the approaching enemy fleet. Davis was a veteran of many battles, but even he looked worried when he saw how many machine ships were coming. The general explained that humans had fought artificial intelligences before during the robot wars of 2340. He knew how the machines thought and how they could be stopped. But this enemy was much stronger than anything humans had faced alone. They would need Zephyrian help to have any chance of victory. Admiral Vestar shared what his people knew about the Void Collective from ancient records. The machines had appeared 300 years ago and destroyed entire civilizations before vanishing. They built new ships from the metal of dead worlds and grew stronger with each victory. The only way to stop them was to destroy their command ship. Colonel Steve Miller studied the tactical data and proposed a battle plan. Human fighters would attack the outer ships, while Zephyrian cruisers targeted the enemy's heavy vessels. Combined forces would push through the robot fleet to reach the central command ship. It was dangerous, but it might work if both species fought together. Dr. Martinez volunteered to establish field hospitals behind the battle lines. She said wounded soldiers from both species would need medical care during the fighting. Her experience treating Zephyrians during the recent conflict made her the perfect choice to lead the medical teams. The first battle took place at the Kepler 186 system, where human and Zephyrian colonies were evacuated ahead of the machine advance. Lieutenant Amy Foster led a squadron of human fighters against robot interceptors, while Zephyrian pilots provided cover. The organic forces fought bravely, but the machines kept coming in endless waves. Amy's fighter was damaged during the battle and began to lose power. A massive robot destroyer was targeting a Zephyrian evacuation ship full of alien children. Without hesitation, Amy turned her crippled fighter toward the enemy vessel and activated her self-destruct system. The explosion destroyed the robot ship and saved 800 young Zephyrians. Ground forces led by Sergeant Mike Johnson fought desperately to hold evacuation points while civilians escaped. Human Marines and Zephyrian soldiers worked side by side to protect refugee ships. Johnson personally carried wounded aliens to safety, while robot troops advanced through the burning cities. The evacuation was successful, but the cost was high. Many brave pilots and soldiers died protecting others. Dia Martinez worked around the clock in the field hospitals, treating humans and Zephyrians equally. She saved lives without caring what species the patients were from. General Davis realized that conventional tactics would not work against such a large enemy force. The machines learned from each battle and adapted their strategies. Human and Zephyrian forces needed to do something unexpected to have any chance of reaching the command ship. Captain Morrison proposed a desperate plan using his ship's experimental quantum core. The technology was new and dangerous, but it could create a massive explosion that would destroy the robot command vessel. The problem was that everyone aboard the USS Defender would die in the blast. Admiral Vextar protested the plan and said, too, many good people had already died. But Morrison pointed out that millions more would die if the machines were not stopped. The captain was willing to sacrifice himself and his crew to save both human and Zephyrian civilizations. The final battle began near the Vega system, where the largest robot fleet had gathered around their command ship. Human battleships and Zephyrian cruisers charged into the enemy formation, while fighters cleared a path through the outer defenses. The fighting was fierce, and many ships were lost on both sides. Morrison guided the USS Defender through the chaos toward the giant command vessel at the center of the robot fleet. His ship was damaged, and many crew members were wounded, but they kept fighting. The quantum core was prepared for overload, and the countdown began. Dr. Martinez and other non-essential crew members were ordered to evacuate to other ships. But many Zephyrian refugees and wounded aliens were still aboard the Defender. Morrison would not abandon them, even though it meant certain death for his crew. Amy Parker sent one final message to the combined fleet, telling them about the captain's sacrifice. Her words reached thousands of human and Zephyrian ships, where crews listened in silence. Everyone understood that they were witnessing something extraordinary. But before the quantum core could explode, Zephyrian engineers, led by Chief Krizek, discovered an alternative solution. They had studied human technology during the recent cooperation and found a way to redirect the quantum energy. The explosion could still destroy the command ship, but the USS Defender might survive. The modified plan required perfect timing and coordination between human and Zephyrian technical teams. Engineers from both species worked together in the ship's core room while robot defenders tried to break through the hull. With seconds to spare, they activated the new system and aimed the quantum burst at the enemy command vessel. The explosion lit up space like a new star and completely destroyed the robot command ship. Without their central control, the remaining machine vessels shut down and drifted helplessly. The combined organic fleet had achieved victory through cooperation and sacrifice. The USS Defender survived the quantum explosion, thanks to the brilliant work of human and Zephyrian engineers working together. Captain Jake Morrison stood on his damaged bridge and watched the last robot ships shut down and drift in space. The machine threat was over, but the cost had been terrible. Thousands of brave soldiers from both species had died protecting others. Admiral Vextar came aboard the human flagship to thank Captain Morrison personally. The alien leader walked through corridors where human and Zephyrian crew members worked, side by side to repair battle damage. He saw humans sharing their medical supplies with wounded aliens, and aliens helping fix human equipment. In the main conference room, representatives from both species gathered to discuss what would happen next. General Paul Davis praised the courage of Zephyrian pilots who had died protecting human evacuation ships. Colonel Steve Miller spoke about alien soldiers who had fought bravely alongside human Marines in the ground battles. Kim Martinez presented her report on the medical cooperation during the crisis. Human and Zephyrian doctors had learned from each other while treating wounded soldiers. She said the knowledge gained would help both species develop better treatments for diseases and injuries. The war had brought them together in ways no one had expected. Amy Parker had recorded messages from soldiers and civilians throughout the battle. She played recordings of human pilots thanking Zephyrian engineers for saving their ships. There were messages from alien families grateful to human rescue teams who had evacuated them from dangerous worlds. The voices told a story of friendship, born from shared struggle. Lieutenant Amy Foster's sacrifice had become famous throughout both fleets. The young pilot had given her life to save a ship full of Zephyrian children. Her heroic act was just one of many examples of humans and aliens dying to protect each other. Admiral Vextar said her name would be remembered forever in Zephyrian history. Sergeant Mike Johnson received the highest military honors from both human and Zephyrian governments. The Marine had risked his life countless times to save alien civilians during the evacuation battles. When asked why he did it, Johnson simply said that protecting innocent people was what soldiers were supposed to do. The joint engineering team that had saved the USS Defender became symbols of cooperation between the species. Chief Krizak and his human counterparts had worked together under impossible pressure to find a solution that saved everyone. Their technical breakthrough proved that humans and Zephyrians could accomplish anything when they worked as partners. Admiral Vextar asked to address the combined fleet before everyone returned home. His speech was broadcast to ships throughout the battle zone and transmitted to both human and Zephyrian space. The alien leader admitted that his people had been completely wrong about humanity. The Admiral explained how Zephyrian intelligence had focused only on human wars, while ignoring human compassion. They had feared human anger because violence was something they understood, but they had never seen human mercy because they possessed no frame of reference for such boundless kindness toward enemies. Vextar told the story of Dr. Martinez healing alien soldiers who had tried to kill her friends. He spoke about Sam Brooks nearly dying to save 800 Zephyrians he had never met. He described Captain Morrison offering friendship to aliens who had attacked his ship without warning. These acts of mercy had seemed impossible to understand. At first, the Admiral said his people had learned that humanity's greatest strength was not their weapons or their courage in battle. Their true power came from their ability to show mercy even to those who had wronged them. This quality made humans dangerous to enemies, but precious to friends. Captain Morrison responded by saying that humans had also learned much from working with Zephyrians. He praised alien engineers who had risked their lives to save human ships. He thanked Zephyrian medical teams who had treated human wounded with the same care they showed their own people. The cooperation had benefited everyone involved. The formal alliance between humans and Zephyrians was signed 3 days later on the neutral space station where the first peace talks had taken place. Representatives from hundreds of worlds attended the ceremony. The agreement established trade relationships, cultural exchanges, and mutual defense pacts between the two civilizations. Dr. Martinez was appointed to lead the new Interspecies Medical Institute, where human and Zephyrian doctors would work together. The institute would develop treatments for diseases affecting both species and provide emergency medical aid during disasters. Her work healing former enemies had made her the perfect choice for the position. Amy Parker became the head of the Translation and Cultural Exchange Department. Her skill with languages and her experience during the crisis made her ideal for helping humans and Zephyrians understand each other better. She would oversee student exchange programs and diplomatic communications. The War Memorial was built at the site of the final battle near the Vega system. It honored soldiers from both species who had died fighting the machine invaders. The monument showed human and Zephyrian figures standing together with an inscription that read, "They fought as one people for all organic life." Captain Morrison and Admiral Vexstar worked together to establish humanitarian aid stations throughout the former war zone. The stations would help refugees rebuild their lives and provide assistance to any species in need. Both leaders agreed that preventing suffering was more important than politics or military advantage. Years later, children from both species would learn about the war that almost happened because of fear and misunderstanding. They would study how enemies became friends through acts of mercy and compassion. The story would teach future generations that true strength came not from the ability to destroy, but from the wisdom to forgive. The galaxy had learned that humanity's greatest weapon was not their advanced technology or their fierce determination in battle. It was their infinite capacity for mercy that could transform hatred into friendship and turn former enemies into beloved allies. This was the gift that humans brought to the stars, and it would shape the future of all organic life in the universe.